Alright guys, Papa Pepper on the homestead today. I'm going to talk to you guys a bit about ghost peppers, and for me, part of the reason I am Papa Pepper is ghost peppers, and they were really the gateway pepper for me, just because they brought out super hot peppers in a way kind of to the world that had never really been done. Before that, a lot of people were just familiar with local hots, or habaneros were kind of the ones that were maxing it out. But I remember when they first kind of became recognized around the world, although they'd been used and enjoyed in India for a long time, the Bhut Jolokia, or ghost pepper, suddenly gained world recognition. They were 3 times hotter than a habanero, and it was shortly after that I actually first started finding them. I found some at a local grocery store where they were selling pretty much 12 for a $6 package, So 50 cents a piece. I figured, all right, I'll give them a go. Enjoyed those. When I ate them, I saved the seeds from some and started growing my own back then. Oh, that would have been about probably 2010 or so. So we're heading on probably my 8th year actually growing these things. And there's a lot of reasons I do like them. Of course, first is the heat. The second is that they are so prolific. And I'm going to give you guys an example of that right now. Now, I've grown these for many years. I started first growing them just from seed, from the ones I got at the store. And germination of ghost peppers can be rather difficult sometimes. Sometimes they can take up to 3 months to germinate. So if you think about that, I mean, you stick something in the dirt and 90 days later or something, it finally pops out. Not that it's ready to harvest, but it finally pops out. I've done them before with, heat pads, and I've done them without. It all depends on kind of the environment you're in and what you're dealing with. I used to start them back at the end of January or mid-February back in Wisconsin, just to get them going as early as I could. Start off with a real good seedling, and sometimes you'd have seedlings, that were bigger than this little guy here, ready to go by the time you're able to plant outdoors, which is really good. One of the things that I used to do too is we would lift them at the end of the year, put them in 5-gallon buckets, and bring plants like this size inside the house for the winter. And as long as you could combat the aphids and keep them alive till the next spring, you'd start off with a plant that size for the second year, which is just beautiful. A lot of peppers you can grow for multiple years. I've grown some for several years, just the same plant, and kind of kept them producing. And one thing that we ran into in Wisconsin was that you'd wind up with a pepper plant like this. Now this one, I never pruned any of the suckers this year. I just said, this year we're just gonna let everything run. So you've got these giant suckers like this off each side. Plus you've got kind of what would be your main plant in the middle. Check this out. You've got, I don't know, probably 30 some ripe peppers on here right now. I mean, here's a cluster of 7 or so. There's more down here, all those there. And then you've got all these other mature ones. And then you've got all these little ones, and even the littler ones. And flowers about to bud as well, and flowers just opening. So one of these pepper plants, man, I believe you could get 200 to 300 peppers off in a season, especially if you've got a nice long growing season. It always hurt me at the end of the year to actually kill the plant, because I'd be like, man, it's just so easy to get so many, and then you got all these ones that just didn't make it. And with ghost peppers, I could eat this guy now, this little green guy up here, and it wouldn't really do much at all, because they don't really reach their full maturity or full heat till they get bigger like this. So this year I'm growing in it's a high wood chip actually, type compost that we get for free around here. This is just planted above the rock and clay that's here. We made this little raised bed. Normally I do enrich the soil as much as I can. I've done some things with this as well. I've also used some fertilizers like fish emulsion and stuff, but it seems like the ghost pepper has always done very well for me in a rich garden environment. So that's what I had up in Wisconsin, and we just kind of kept adding to it every year. And then here as well, it's pretty, we've done some things to amend the soil and hook it up. It's always done very well. The plants grow like crazy. I used to have them kind of get almost chest height by the end of the year up in Wisconsin. Here, these are probably maxing out at about 44, 46 inches. Some of the taller plants right here, and I've actually got two sections of the ghost peppers growing this year, and then a ton of other ones. But look at, I've harvested this multiple times already, And you can just see that everywhere in here, it's just nothing but solid, ripe, mature peppers. And that is absolutely crazy. So one thing you may be thinking, I mentioned a couple things. You're able to sprout them from seed. You can grow your own. When I bought them, I was paying 50 cents a piece for them. And one plant can put out, like I said, a couple hundred. So you're like, huh, that means potentially each plant could probably make you $100, right? Well, in the right situation, it could. What I found though is that a lot of local people, if they've got some sort of organic food business or a natural food store or something like that, is that when you talk to them about peppers, a lot of them are like, oh, well, yeah, we tried selling hot peppers before, but a lot of people just don't seem to like hot peppers. And I'm like, what'd you try? And they're like, oh, and they'll usually name something around a jalapeno or maybe up to a habanero. And for me, the thing is ghost peppers aren't hot peppers. For me, I'm gonna say they're super hot peppers. They are super hot peppers. They reach a whole nother level that hot peppers just really don't go to. And they've made a name for themselves for so long that if there are any hotheads or peppers or chili heads in the area, they're gonna love having a nice local source, especially if they're not able to grow on their own. But a lot of people just doesn't seem that they'll give it a chance. So if you do grow and sell stuff at a farmer's market, at that case, they're great. If you've already got your own personal outlet, if you're trying to find something or work with a local business, it seems that's not going to work. Now, in each of these, because they used to sell ghost pepper seeds, man, it was like $5 for 10 seeds. Now, they've become, the market's been flooded since then, so the price has definitely dropped. But there's a lot of seeds in each and every one of these. And one thing that I like to do, I'll show you guys too, because if you leave these here, it's not going to be like a cayenne pepper. A cayenne pepper is going to be a thin-bodied pepper. You're going to be able just to pretty much tie up a whole bunch of string or just let it sit there and it dries on its own. And it dries just fine. Now this is a thick-bodied pepper, so what's going to happen is it's going to get a rot rather than just drying. When you leave these go, it'll get black around here. I mean, sometimes just even, depending on how ripe the pepper is when you pick it, sometimes it doesn't take very long at all. And all of a sudden you've got a very, destroyed, stinky pepper that's good for nothing. So what I like to do, and I'll show you that in a minute in the house, is I will take these and I'll just cut them lengthwise. I'll cut them lengthwise, open them up. At that point I can harvest and remove any seeds that I want, but it'll give me an opportunity to either sun dry them or put them in a dehydrator or chuck them in a vehicle and watch it, because it kind of like almost poisons the air sometimes depending on what you're doing with it, because it is a very strong smell when you're dealing with something like 1,000 or 1,000,000 Scoville heat units. It definitely, you can smell it in the air. So be careful who's around, what children, what pets, yourself, things like that. And as always too, you can use gloves when you handle these peppers, especially on the inside, because the oil is a thing to reckon with. It's a lot like poison ivy, which is an oil where it's easy to get everywhere without realizing it, and then you suffer the consequences. So this is one of the cases where you wash your hands before going to the bathroom. Anyway, I'll slice them lengthwise and I'll dehydrate them. The cool thing about a dried pepper is that a dried hot pepper like this is going to retain its full heat for over a year. About a year's where it's still at its really full heat, which is really cool. You think about this, that'll definitely last you until the next year. And then if you're really looking for an outlet too, dried peppers store longer and they weigh less than fresh peppers. So it's something where if you're trying to sell things from home, you can sell the pepper seeds, you can sell the dried peppers, or if you do farmers markets and stuff, the second your spring stuff starts up and you're selling things like that, you can have jars of halved dehydrated ghost peppers and sell those as well, and they're going to be at the full heat. There's going to be no issue for people storing them, because they're already where they need to be. They're dried, they're secure, they're in a safe environment, and they'll be able to be used for quite a while. So I've got some harvesting to do, and then I'll show you guys some stuff inside. So another thing I'll add with the ghost peppers is that these things do become so heavy laden that you'll have these pepper plants sprawling pretty much all over the place. And I've seen like Wolf River apples, which is a very large apple, where if you let every fruit set on that tree, it almost rips the entire tree apart and all the branches are falling off because of the weight. So that is something to consider as well when you're pruning, when you're harvesting, when you're deciding whether to trellis or not. You can just let them sprawl. I did it this year. I had enough going on. I said, what, my tomatoes, which did excellent without any pruning, without any tomato cages, I just ran them up a wall, pretty much a fence line, and just let them take off, and they did amazing. And these guys here too, they fill their areas and they expand from there. And if they fall apart and break, there's still so many coming in that we're gonna do all right. So thought I'd mention that as I'm looking at this and thinking like, this is a huge mess, and you can see leaves right now are upside down. Wind can take its damage on these plants as well, but we're still doing really well. And like I said, even all the suckers are producing very hard right now. Look at how many green ones are there, ready to come. And then you peek down here or something, and there's just nothing but peppers everywhere. So we'll check it out. So I took a break from the harvesting because I reached that many and it's getting dark. I got a few things to accomplish before sundown. And when I say that ain't the half of it, that ain't the half of it. So right now I am dehydrating in the house. We're a little used to the scent, but man, that is strong. And what I do is I'll just let them completely dehydrate in there, let them cure for a day or two in a paper bag that's rolled up, and then put them in jars. If you guys want, you can save like silica gel packets and put them in there. We just try to avoid stuff like that. So I just make sure they're dry when I put them in, and I keep them dry. That's right, little guy. And then they'll store, like I said, for a year. They'll keep the heat. They'll store for even longer. You can use a coffee grinder, or sometimes I'll use mortar and pestle, which seems to escape me at the moment. Mama's organizing. But then one of my favorite ones too is just making them in a salsa. This is some of my salsa verde. I make a green ghost salsa. That's a tomatillo-based salsa. That man, the sweetness and kind of the tropical almost flavor of the tomatillos combined with the punch of the ghost pepper, it makes it like right at the level where even people who don't like really hot food, it's tasty enough they keep eating it, but it's hot enough where they think maybe they shouldn't. So I'm just gonna keep running these through this year and kind of make up as many jars as I can as I make different salsas. We'll just add some fresh ones. I always like fresh peppers better for salsas, but there's definitely ways to season things like beef jerkies or other things with the dried stuff. So one of my favorite peppers, absolutely love growing it, getting an incredible harvest. I don't even know how many pounds this is, but it feels like this is already like 5 pounds of just ghost peppers. And this ain't the half of it. I mean, there's more out there, and we only got, man, I got less than 20 plants. Maybe it's a section of 9 and a section of 9 or something like that, maybe 18 plants, but they do excellent. I love them, and there's some things that the kids and Mama Pepper even like too. So, all right, Papa out. As always, I'm Papa Pepper. And I'd like to remind you, don't post for free. If you'd like to be part of a revolution in social media, an economic power to the people where users can actually blog for cryptocurrency, then I'd recommend that you check out steemit.com and join the revolution. Papa out.